This video will share some excerpts of the late teacher Evangelista's Bible revelations from the website Thenameph. This is about how Jesus disobeyed God's Sabbath ordinance and how humankind suffered as a result of his misdeed. Let us first learn God's law about the Sabbath. Let us read Deuteronomy 5, verses 12 to 14. Observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy, as the Lord your God has commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son or daughter, nor your manservant or maidservant, nor your ox, your donkey or any of your animals, nor the alien within your gates, so that your manservant and maidservant may rest, as you do. Deuteronomy 5, verses 12 to 14. We can read that the Sabbath day is the seventh day of the week, and on the said day, God commands us, our household members, and the farm animals to rest and do no work. To understand why the seventh day is sacred and holy to God, let us read Genesis 2, verses 1 to 4. Thus the heavens and the earth were completed in all their vast array. By the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing, so on the seventh day he rested from all his work. And God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. This is the account of the heavens and the earth when they were created. When the Lord God made the earth and the heavens. Genesis 2 verses 1 to 4. In the seventh phase of his creation, God rested from his work. As we can read from the passage, God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. God was the first to observe his decree. The late teacher Evangelista explained then, how much more for man if God himself rested after his work. The Sabbath or day of rest is important for all people to observe, because only through devoting ourselves to rest a whole day will our bodies rejuvenate and our health improves. How important is the Sabbath? Let us read Ezekiel 20, verses 9 to 12. But for the sake of my name I did what would keep it from being profaned in the eyes of the nations they lived among, and in whose sight I had revealed myself to the Israelites by bringing them out of Egypt. Therefore I led them out of Egypt and brought them into the desert. I gave them my decrees and made known to them my laws, for the man who obeys them will live by them. Also I gave them my Sabbaths as a sign between us, so they would know that I the Lord made them holy. Ezekiel 20 verses 9 to 12. As we can read from the passage, I gave them my decrees and made known to them my laws, for the man who obeys them will live by them. Also, I gave them my Sabbaths as a sign between us. God made it clear that the commandments he gave are not for him but for our benefit. Had we remained faithful to it, especially by observing the Sabbath or resting entirely on the seventh day and eating the right food, our bodies would be very healthy. Let us now learn what did Jesus do concerning the Sabbath? Let us read Luke 14, verses 1 to 6. One Sabbath, when Jesus went to eat in the house of a prominent Pharisee, he was being carefully watched. There in front of him was a man suffering from dropsy. Jesus asked the Pharisees and experts in the law, "Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath or not?" But they remained silent. So taking hold of the man, he healed him and sent him away. Then he asked them, "If one of you has a son or an ox that falls into a well on the Sabbath day, will you not immediately pull him out?" And they had nothing to say. Luke 14 verses 1 to 6. Teacher Evangelista says, Jesus can cure from the first to the sixth day of the week. Why did Jesus have to heal people on the Sabbath, the seventh day? Can't he wait for another day and obey the commandment of God by observing the Sabbath? As the passage reads, "If one of you has a son or an ox that falls into a well on the Sabbath day, will you not immediately pull him out?" This is the argument used by Jesus to dishonor and challenge the Sabbath, a commandment of God. To learn if Jesus' case against the Sabbath is valid, let us reread God's law in Deuteronomy 5, verses 12 to 14. Observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy, as the Lord your God has commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son or daughter, nor your manservant or maidservant, nor your ox, your donkey or any of your animals, nor the alien within your gates, so that your manservant and maidservant may rest, as you do. Deuteronomy 5, verses 12-14. As the passage reads, on it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son or daughter, nor your manservant or maidservant, nor your ox, your donkey or any of your animals. Since God's commandment clearly states that even our farm animals should do no work on that day but rest. Teacher Evangelista explains that you must have secured all the animals in your stead before the Sabbath, and therefore Jesus' argument is not a valid reason to work on the Sabbath day. Let us read God's elaboration concerning the Sabbath day. In Exodus 31, verses 12-16 we can read, Then the Lord said to Moses, Say to the Israelites, You must observe my Sabbaths. This will be a sign between me and you for the generations to come, so you may know that I am the Lord, who makes you holy. Observe the Sabbath, because it is holy to you. Anyone who desecrates it must be put to death. Whoever does any work on that day must be cut off from his people. For 6 days, work is to be done, but the seventh day is a Sabbath of rest, holy to the Lord. Whoever does any work on the Sabbath day must be put to death. The Israelites are to observe the Sabbath, celebrating it for the generations to come as a lasting covenant. It will be a sign between me and the Israelites forever. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day he abstained from work and rested. Exodus 31, verses 12-16. As the passage reads, For 6 days, work is to be done, but the seventh day is a Sabbath of rest, holy to the Lord. Whoever does any work on the Sabbath day must be put to death. The punishment for the person guilty of breaking the Sabbath or the day of rest is death. This is only right because rest is essential for one's health after days of hard work. This is the blessing that God had bestowed upon his people. It also reads, The Israelites are to observe the Sabbath, celebrating it for the generations to come as a lasting covenant. This is how important the Sabbath day is. It is a lasting covenant between God and his people forever. We can also read, It will be a sign between me and the Israelites forever. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day he abstained from work and rested. The Sabbath is the sign that the God of the Israelites is the God, who created the heavens and the earth. If Jesus, who is only a descendant of King David, was obedient to God, he should have taught them what God decreed about the Sabbath. Since Jesus did such things, it proves he violated God's Sabbath day. Any work on the day is not being allowed. Question: Why is it that people fail to see such truths about what Jesus did against God's Sabbath day? Some of the Pharisees said, This man is not from God, for he does not keep the Sabbath. But others asked, How can a sinner do such miraculous signs? So they were divided. John 9, verse 16. As we can read, some of the Pharisees said, This man is not from God, for he does not keep the Sabbath. Jesus did not keep God's Sabbath because he did miracles on a day that God commanded his people Israel to do no work. God himself had made the Sabbath holy when he rested on the seventh day after he had done his creation. Also, it reads, But others asked, How can a sinner do such miraculous signs? This is how people are confused about Jesus. Also, the passage reads, So they were divided. According to Teacher Evangelista, God's law about the Sabbath is God's way of wanting his people to live in peace with each other. They are all commanded to take a day of rest from all their hard work. With Jesus breaking the Sabbath, he took away a day of peaceful rest from his people and even caused division among themselves about his words. Question: Why did this division happen? What did Jesus bring to humankind? Let us read in Luke 12, verses 49-53. I have come to bring fire on the earth, and how I wish it were already kindled. But I have a baptism to undergo, and how distressed I am until it is completed. Do you think I came to bring peace on earth? No, I tell you, but division. From now on there will be 5 in one family divided against each other, 3 against 2 and 2 against 3. They will be divided, father against son and son against father, mother against daughter and daughter against mother, mother-in-law against daughter-in-law and daughter-in-law against mother-in-law. Luke 12 verses 49 to 53. Jesus brought division. That was his objective. He said it himself, he did not come to bring peace. Now, regarding the miracles Jesus performed on the Sabbath day, let us read what God said regarding a person who does miracles. Is it a sign that God gave Jesus authority to speak such words about his commandments, especially the Sabbath? Let us read one of the laws of God that if the people of the world had understood before, there would have never been any confusion regarding Jesus. In Deuteronomy 13, verses 1 to 5, we can read, "If a prophet, or one who foretells by dreams, appears among you and announces to you a sign or wonder, and if the sign or wonder spoken of takes place, and the prophet says, 'Let us follow other gods you have not known and let us worship them,' you must not listen to the words of that prophet or dreamer. The Lord your God is testing you to find out whether you love him with all your heart and with all your soul." Deuteronomy 13, verses 1 to 3. As the passage says, announces to you a sign or wonder. This means God gave a reminder about any individual who does healing miracles to make people believe in what they speak about God. Even if a preacher or prophet claims God sent him and can perform miracles and speaks differently from what God has commanded, that preacher must not be listened to because he preaches a different God. To continue in Deuteronomy 13 verse 4. It is the Lord your God you must follow, and him you must revere. Keep his commands and obey him, serve him and hold fast to him. Deuteronomy 13 verse 4. As the passage reads, it is the Lord your God you must follow. It is clear. We should only listen to what God himself has said in the scriptures. Question: what should the people do to the prophet or preacher who performs miracles yet preach a different God or speak differently about God's commands in the scriptures? Let us continue our reading in verse 5. That prophet or dreamer must be put to death for inciting rebellion against the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt and redeemed you from the land of slavery. That prophet or dreamer tried to turn you from the way the Lord your God commanded you to follow. You must purge the evil from among you. Deuteronomy 13 verse 5. As we can read, that prophet or dreamer must be put to death for inciting rebellion against the Lord your God. He should not be listened to but be punished by death because he preached rebellion against God. The passage also says, brought you out of Egypt and redeemed you from the land of slavery. This is the real God. The God who led the Israelites out of Egypt. And finally, the passage reads, that prophet or dreamer tried to turn you from the way the Lord your God commanded you to follow. You must purge the evil from among you. This explains why that preacher or prophet who performs miracles must be put to death. Since he speaks differently from what God said, he leads people to suffer under God's curse. That preacher or prophet deserves to die a cruel and horrible death. This was why God forsook Jesus to be punished by the people. How great was the consequence when the whole world disregarded the law of God about the Sabbath because of Jesus' words. Let us read Leviticus 25. Verses 1 to 7. The Lord said to Moses at Mount Sinai, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, when you enter the land I am going to give you, the land itself must observe a Sabbath to the Lord. For 6 years sow your fields, and for 6 years prune your vineyards and gather their crops. But in the 7th year the land is to have a year of Sabbath rest, a Sabbath to the Lord. Do not sow your fields or prune your vineyards. Do not reap what grows of itself or harvest the grapes of your untended vines. The land is to have a year of rest. Whatever the land yields during the Sabbath year will be food for you for yourself, your male and female servants, and the hired worker and temporary resident who live among you, as well as for your livestock and the wild animals in your land. Whatever the land produces may be eaten." Leviticus 25 verses 1 to 7. The Lord said to Moses at Mount Sinai. God spoke about this decree to Moses. As the passage reads, for 6 years sow your fields, and for 6 years prune your vineyards and gather their crops. But in the 7th year the land is to have a year of Sabbath rest, a Sabbath to the Lord. Do not sow your fields or prune your vineyards. We can read that just as God commanded man not to work but only rest on the 7th day, He also commanded man not to gather crops on the seventh year so that the land can rest and replenish itself as well. Here God implies that just as a man can recharge his body by resting, so does the land. We should not abuse our environment. We can understand that the observation of God's Sabbath has a significant impact on ourselves and the whole planet. Giving a decree about a Sabbath for the land means that since then, God did not fail to provide us with a reminder on how to take care of our environment. Look at what happened to our world when we did not observe God's decree about the Sabbath for the land. We abused its resources and did not give it rest. The worst thing we did was extract vast amounts of fossil oil. By doing so, we polluted the air that God created so clean for us to breathe. The abuse made to the environment had resulted in what we now experience as global warming or climate change crisis. Therefore, if we are experiencing deadly storms, tsunamis, earthquakes, great wildfires, and many other weather disturbances which take so many lives and destroy numerous homes and livelihood of families around the world, we could only blame ourselves because we listened to Jesus' words about the Sabbath and did not follow God's commandments. May the viewers be reminded that this is not about discrediting Jesus but rather revealing the real and true story regarding Jesus which the apostles of Jesus had hidden. Let us now know God's true name, His true teachings, and the real identity of Jesus in the Bible, by visiting the website www.thenameph. The website does not promote a new religion or faith, but only to share God's true message. Also, to receive notifications about the latest videos regarding Teacher Evangelista's Bible revelations, kindly hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching.